And welcome back to the Sports Wrap right here on TV 38 WRWR, your Middle Georgia sports leader, each and every Saturday morning from 9 to 10 a.m. And guys, I tell you right now, we've got a great show lined up for you today. We're going to do a little segment we call the Back Page News, where we'll talk about the 4 Alabama recruits or freshmen that actually got caught doing some dirt. O.J. Simpson has a Super Bowl party in jail. We'll also talk about whether or not the Atlanta Braves decide to bring the Screaming Indian back on their hats. We'll also talk Braves baseball as well. We'll talk about the Uptons coming, pitchers and catchers reporting, and this new and improved Braves lineup. We'll also touch on our Middle Georgia college basketball. A milestone was hit earlier this past week with Susie Gardner up at Mercer. They're on a big win streak up there. Also, we want you guys to think pink. Big game over at Central Georgia Technical College today. We want you guys to be involved and be a part of that as well. But first, we've got playoff action going on around high school basketball here in the Middle Georgia area. And joining me right now, Craig Lawson, right here from TV 38 WRWR is joining me. Craig, how you doing, man?
I'm good. Just happy to be here. It's an exciting time in high school basketball. It's just really crunch time now. It's really like when you got to batten down the hatches and just really follow, because this is when it gets real. This has been, it really does get real. And tournament times like this, guys, I tell you right now, when you look at these different teams and these different schools, coaches and teams get themselves prepared, Craig, for this particular moment. Right. A lot of times, you may not like Mary Persons this year, the boys basketball. They may not have had a great basketball season, an entire season, but you can make a quick run in the tournament and obviously get yourself and be able to have an opportunity to compete for a state championship. You can also be undefeated and lose in the first round in the state tournament and your season's over. So exactly. We had a little of some of that action a little bit happen earlier this week. But first, I'm going to let you run down the 2-5A region championships that are going on over in Jones County. Yeah, 2-5A earlier this week on Tuesday night. Evans defeated Jones County. This is girls. Evans defeated Jones County 52-48. Houston County over Grovetown 46-44. So that was a close one. And then Northside over Greenbrier 53-46. And then Warner Robins over Lakeside 42-31. So a pretty good showing there by the local teams. Yeah, the local teams. Houston County, Warner Robins, Northside. Their females all advancing. So getting an opportunity to move on as well. But it's not over. We obviously will get a chance to update you guys on a lot more scores coming up here later in the day, because you've got some championship games and some consolation games that'll be going on right here today. Matter of fact, the Region 2 5A championships will be held, I believe, later on today. Yeah, later on today. So we want you guys to be a part of it, be involved, and be a big part of and support these teams and what we have going on here in Middle Georgia. All right. We're going to go to GHSA Region 2 Class 4A. You've got the Howard High Schools. You've got Rutland, West Side of Macon, Mary Persons, Baldwin County. All of those guys had an opportunity to compete earlier this week. The Veterans girls advanced on, beat West Lawrence. And here's the thing I enjoyed about this one. This is the first time in Veterans High School Lady Warhawk history that their basketball team has advanced on to the state playoffs. Good for them. Good for them. We're excited. Young school. For the Veterans Warhawks. That program over there is young and developing. Athletic director over there, Coach Bruce, has been getting that team and got the right people in place. We're happy for those ladies over at the Veterans Lady Warhawks. Also, some good action. Perry boys actually step up and beat the Howard boys 58-52 early this week. We thought that was going to be a heavily contested matchup. And it is that matchup, Perry winning that matchup, it sends them to Rutland High School, obviously, and we'll talk about that a little bit later on as well, give you the final results on that. We're just kind of recapping what the week has happened. But Perry obviously beats Howard. They're going to face Rutland High School, the number 2 seed. And you've got Baldwin County beats West Side. So what you're going to get in that is you're going to get, Baldwin girls beat West Side girls 43-27. And then you got the Baldwin Braves men beat the Veterans men's on a last-second play. This is Tuesday, 49-48 with the boys. So that sends Baldwin County will play West Side, and also this two Class 4A tournament is going on at West Side High School. So it's going to kind of be a homecoming game for West Side. West Side is the number 1 seed, but they'll be facing Baldwin.
Rutland will be facing Perry. It's going to be exciting. Rutland has beat Perry 2 out of 3 games this season, so we definitely we'll get you guys that final on there. Here's something I don't like about this year's playoff matchups and the way they've got the playoff seeding going right now, Craig. If you're a number 1 or 2 seed right now, you actually have to you wait until the semifinals. You don't even have to play a game until the semifinals. So you get a team like Howard that's the number 6 or 7 seed. They actually have to play 4 games to get to win the championship.
Right.
A Rutland High or a Westside only has to play 1 game to get to the championship. I don't like that. I don't like the fairness of that for these high school kids.
There's not a lot of parity in that. You know, like you said, you got teams playing 4 games, twice the amount of games you would have to win the tournament unless you're a 1 or 2 seed. And then also, if you're the 1 and 2 seed, you're having to sit and get cold for a couple of games. And so I agree with you. I don't think it benefits either side.
No, I don't think it benefits either side as well. And one of the big things for me is that I just think you've got the 2 best teams, and at least they should be playing in the quarterfinals and having to play somebody. I don't think having to sit at home and go to, you've got the first round, then the second round, and then they actually start playing in the 3rd round. Right. I think it gives just an unnecessary advantage to that 1 and 2 seed. Also, we want to obviously congratulate for a good season they had this year. The Westfield Hornets, the boys lose to Stratford in the playoffs this week, 65-50. But the women over at Westfield, they advance on 43-36 over the Mount DeSales women. So exciting times, and we want to get excited about that as well. All right, guys, got a lot more playoff action to talk about. Our producer, Brad Boswick, is going to throw up some scores for you for these finals. And don't forget, a lot of playoff action going on today. You can go to, and I think we've got the times and dates for some of these games, the scores that you can, the times that you can actually check out some of the games going on, the championships and consolation games going on.
Yeah, that's
today.
right. Saturday, consolation game will be at Jones County at 3:30 p.m. and the championship game later on today will be at 6:30 p.m. So be sure to check that out, Jones County.
That's that Region 2 Class 5A. Again, you've got the consolation game and the championship game for and that's the girls. The guys' consolation game will be at 5 p.m. The boys' consolation game, championship game will be at 8 p.m. So get out there and support and be a big part of high school basketball in the local area. All right, guys. Coming up next, we're going to talk a little Mercer Bears, Central Georgia Technical College, Middle Georgia Tech, local college basketball. We had an opportunity to have a milestone set here in Middle Georgia by one of our local coaches right here on the Sports Wrap, TV 38 WRWR. We'll be back.
6:28 to go in the game. Alley-oop, and there it is. Daniel Corsi with 10 points. I hope we got a replay on that.
Oh, my God. That was amazing. He just went up and dunked so hard. That guy, he don't even know what hit him. He thought a Mack truck came through. He thought the mascot was riding back through on the Harley.
And welcome back to the Sports Wrap right here, TV 38 WRWR, your Middle Georgia sports leader each and every Saturday morning from 9 to 10 a.m. Guys, we talked a little high school basketball last segment. Now we're going to talk some local college basketball. We're going to start first in our Division III NJCAA, but we also, first of all, want to thank our sponsor, one of our sponsors, Flint Energies, for in and everything they do, keeping us lighted, keeping us obviously efficient as well. So thank you again, Flint Energies, for being a part of what we do here in the local Middle Georgia area. Also, Middle Georgia Technical College has had a very good week. Their women and men both go out and had a huge game this past week. They pinked out their gymnasium over there at the Titans Gymnasium. They had their pink out game this past Saturday, and they had an opportunity to face a Division I foe who's ranked number 15 in the nation in Denmark State Technical College. Denmark out of South Carolina. They in a double overtime, unbelievable game. The men go out and win 110-108 in double overtime. D'Amico Rozier drops 31 points, 8 assists, 8 rebounds in this game, and he had 11 steals. Unbelievable performance by Rozier. They lose one of their best players, though, to an ankle injury. He probably would be back this week in Dwayne Bryant, their 6'9.5" center, who's right now averaging 18.5 points a game and is third in the GCAA in scoring. But honors came out of Middle Georgia Technical College as well. There were 2 players on those teams this week that were honored and named GCAA All-State Players of the Week. D'Amico Rozier, averaging 24 points, 8 assists, 8.5 rebounds a game. He gets honors for the men. And on the women's side, Miss Camila Wynn, she had some outstanding and unbelievable performances and numbers. She averaged 14.5 points, but 24 rebounds a game and 3 block shots. So she had a great week, and she was honored as well over at Middle Georgia Technical College. So we definitely want to thank them and congratulate them for everything that's going on. Well, we know Middle Georgia Tech is merging with Central Georgia Technical College. The CGTC Cougars and Lady Cougars have been advancing on. They've only got a couple games left. They have one of their last home. Their next to last home game is this week at the Cougars Den, 1931 Rocky Creek Road in Macon, Georgia, where they're having a pink out. Their Think Pink game that will benefit the Susan G. Coleman Foundation. Any and everyone, and I will repeat, any and everyone that wears anything pink, pink socks, pink headband, pink ribbon, anything pink, you get in free. They want to make sure they honor all the survivors out there, or if you have survivors, they definitely want you to be a part of it. They have got a cake sale. They're going to have some face painting. Even their cosmetology department is going to be giving away free manicures that day as well. So we definitely want to see you guys out there. That is this Saturday, 2 o'clock and 4 o'clock at 1931 Rocky Creek Road, the Cougars Den in Macon, Georgia. The Cougars also had some honors. The first and foremost, their women right now, the Lady Cougars 21-5 on the season. They're advancing on. We've just found out they're going to host a playoff game this year. So on the 27th of February at about 5:30 p.m., the Lady Cougars will host the first round of the playoffs at the Cougars Den on the 27th. That's a Wednesday, the 27th. So get ready for that. It's going to be a lot of action going on as well. But 21-5 right now, but the Lady Cougars have suffered some tough losses for this season. Guys, they lost their starting point guard in Amber Johnson, A.J. Johnson out of Atlanta. She goes down earlier on midway in the season with an ACL injury. You also had Lakeisha Beasley, their starting center sophomore. She goes down, blows out both of her ACLs this past Wednesday in one game. In the same game, she blows out her left and right ACL, so a lot of hurt there. You also lose Brittany Hall, as well as they lose, I'm trying to remember, I think it wasn't Jasmine Greer, I can't remember. They lost another player. They've lost 4 players, guys. 4 players to ACL injuries. There's 4 of their top players and their leading scorer, Shamika Harris. Harris goes down as well. She was averaging 17.5 points a game. She goes down in the game over against East Georgia. So tough game, Craig. Obviously, tough losses for this Lady Cougars team and what they've got, but they're still rolling along, and we want to definitely make sure we congratulate them as well. Now, Craig, we want to get some insight and some information on our Mercer Bears and the Lady Bears. Looks like they've got some things going on big over at Hawkins Arena.
That's right. Mercer women's basketball, 10-game winning streak, one of the best winning streaks in Division I this year. And also Susie Gardner with their win over Jacksonville this past Monday. They won 68-61, gets her 200th victory of her career. So big things going on with Mercer women's basketball. Actually, in that game, senior Sharmesia Smith led the Bears. She was in double figures, had 16 points with 6 of 7 shooting, so she only missed 1 shot the entire game. It's pretty good. And just throughout the season, Precious Bridges, 17 points per game. They're going to go for their 11th straight win later on today. They're going to be playing at East Tennessee State, and the game time will be at 1:30 p.m., so keep track of that. But big things going on for the Mercer women.
And it was good to see the fact that the Mercer Lady Bears had an opportunity. Listen, they suffered through one of the worst seasons you could possibly suffer through last year. I think they only had, Craig, 2 wins, I believe, last season. And it was a tough loss, but they lose some of their better players. KG, their starting shooting guard there from Rutland High School, she went down to a season-ending knee injury early on in the season. But Coach Gardner goes out. She brings in a great recruiting class, gets a couple junior college transfers as well, and now they've had some success right now. They're sitting with a great record. I think it's 17 and I think
17-9.
17 and 9.
9-2 in the conference.
Right. So which is 9-2 in the conference. ASUN tournament coming up over at Hawkins Arena at the University Center. You guys definitely need to get ready. That's coming here at the end of this month, early part of March. So we want you to be a big part of what's going on with the Mercer Bears and the men not doing so bad as well. Coach Bob Hoffman and his crew.
Undefeated at home this year.
Yeah, undefeated at home. So what does that mean, guys? Hopefully, we'll keep our fingers crossed. They can win the ASUN tournament and make a big run, but they can win that ASUN tournament and advance on to the NCAA
Belmont's
tournament.
gone this year. Belmont has perennially been the best team in the ASUN, and Mercer have struggled on the road, but they've been really good at home this year, and they just get contributions from everybody. You got the two Smiths, Bud Thomas, Daniel Corsi, and just Jake Gahn. All these guys just really, really great, and it's just spread around.
And that's a great thing. Listen, they took this CIT tournament win from last season, and they've utilized that to vault themselves up into a different stratosphere. They've had some big wins this season over some big Division I schools in Mercer. So we're excited again and want to congratulate Coach Hoffman and Coach Susie Gardner again, 200 victories. She made a comment earlier this week talking about catching Pat Summit. I don't know if that's going to happen, but I tell you right now, we hope you get there, Coach, and take our Lady Bears with you. We're going to take a quick commercial break, and we're going to come right back, and we're going to talk about the Atlanta Braves, pitchers and catchers report, position players report. Everybody's in the fold now. Now we'll see whether or not we keep the Screaming Indian that they, kind of bring back the Screaming Indian that they had from the old Milwaukee Brewers days. Sports Wrap, TV 38 WRWR. We'll be back. And welcome back to the Sports Wrap right here on TV 38 WRWR. Again, joining me in the studio, Craig laying down the law, son. Yours truly, Leland Ragin, the mouth of the South. That's exactly right. They call me the mouth with an F of the South. So we want you guys to be a part of the show and give us a call at 345-1500. That's 345-1500. I almost gave you guys my cell phone number, 345-1500. Or you can,
I'll give it to you later.
Yeah, or you can follow us on Twitter at Sports Wrap TV 38. That's at Sports Wrap TV 38. Again, we don't want to forget Flint Energies and what they're doing here as well. We'll also later on, next segment, we'll be in the Ashley Furniture Studios, and Brandon Evans will be joining us coming up next as well. We'll do a little segment we call our Back Page News. It's going to be pretty interesting, guys. But first and foremost, Craig, obviously, our Atlanta Braves pitchers and catchers reported last week. The other position players reported this week. It was good to see BJ and Justin Upton join Jason Hayward and Freeman in the batting cage. Exciting times. But first, the Braves had to come to an agreement with a few of these players before they came to training camp. Give us a little rundown on that.
To avoid arbitration, which is a big deal because you don't really want to go to arbitration, they signed deals for Chris Medlin, Johnny Venters, Eric O'Flaherty, and Christian Martinez, and then the crown jewel is Jason Hayward, the guy who we see is having some of the most potential in Major League Baseball. So a really big deal to pin those guys.
All I can tell you is this. The last two seasons, guys, all we've heard was O'Flaherty, Venters, Kimbrell.
Right. That's
how. And listen, the starters would come out, and then it was O'Flaherty, Venters, Kimbrell. And they had to keep that together. I'm glad to see the Braves were able to get those deals done. I'm going to give, and we both might want to give Frank Wren a round of applause. You have done the most admirable of offseason moves of any team to me this year and in this Braves organization's history. Listen, nothing against Sherholtz and what Sherholtz was able to do during the 90s, but I've never seen him make the kind of moves that Wren has made this season. Even getting the Sheffields, getting the Fred McGriffs, getting the Marquise Grissams and people like that. Even getting those players, I like what we've done here and the fact that these guys are all young. They're in their mid-20s.
Yeah.
And that's the exciting part. This could be something that could be held together for our Atlanta Braves for quite some time, for at least the next 5 to 6 seasons. So big ups to him as well.
Let's see how it shakes out before we put him in Sherholtz's. But you're right. I love the way fans just like to see things shaking up, and we're bringing in talent, And that's one thing that Frank Wren has done a great job of. And if nothing else, it's going to put behinds in seats, which is important because you got to get that revenue coming in if you want to continue to be able to pay players.
Well, and the next thing is you had to get Chris Mellon. You had to put his ink to pad because 10-1 on the last little end of the stretch of the season, 1.37 earned run average. Maitland was one of those guys, when you lost Jair Jurgen, you sent him packing to the Baltimore Orioles in a trade. You send Hansen packing. He's gone now with the California Angels or the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim or whatever they are. Yeah, you send him packing as well. Now you also get rid of one of your young and Randall Delgado. You package him in the deal to get Justin Upton. Now you got to have that guy in Maitland. You've got to get Brandon Beachy back. And then you got Huddy coming in and possibly his last season. He's in the last year of his contract. He's getting paid about $15.5 million this year. He's the last big money contract on this team right now.
Right.
This is going to be odd to see. And then you got these young guys coming in. So glad to see the Braves do that. Well, also just in real quick news, guys, former Atlanta Brave pitcher Kevin Millwood hangs him up. He retires. Millwood decides he's a done deal right now. He's meandered back and forth. He went from the Braves. I think he went to the Phillies, and then he went on to the Cleveland Indians, is where I believe he just ended he's going to end his career. I thought Millwood was going to be the next coming of Smoltz when he first got here. Never seemed to pan out. He obviously he's 33 years old, 34 years old. But he's done. He's a done deal, hanging him up. So big ups to Kevin Millwood. We appreciated what you did for us when you were Atlanta Brave and whatnot. Now, pitchers and catchers report again. Craig, we obviously had a chance to see these guys in the bullpen in the batter's box for the first time in batting practice. I'm excited about this Braves lineup.
Yeah, I mean, you were talking about O'Flaherty, Venters, and Kimbrel. Venters went 5-4 last year, 3.22 ERA. He was shaky in times. He was at 66 appearances, but I still believe that he's one of the best setup men. I think he's the best setup man in baseball. And then, like you said, O'Flaherty, he was always a guy that was setting it up for him. O'Flaherty actually had a 1.73 ERA in 64 games last year. It's really impressive. Wow. Really impressive. And then we all know what Kimbrel did. I mean, I believe that he deserved more respect as far as the NL Cy Young voting goes. It's tough for a relief pitcher to win that, but I mean, I think he's the best in the game. Though. Yeah, it has happened before, but unfortunately not this year.
Well, here's the thing. The prospect of what this Braves lineup is going to look like, you could very well have Justin Upton sitting there leading this team off right now. Maybe possibly a B.J. Upton batting second. Maybe a Dan Uggla batting third. I hope they push Uggla down in the lineup because Dan Uggla seemed, when they moved him down in the lineup batting sixth, I believe later on in the year, he began to hit the ball better. Actually, it may have been Hayward they pushed down, and Hayward began to hit the ball a little bit better.
Hayward actually is probably going to end up batting second, according to Freddie Gonzalez and what he said. I mean, he batted second a decent amount last year. BJ might end up leading off, and then Justin, you're looking at maybe probably the 3 or 4 slot. And then, like you said, you got the power with Uggla. They moved him back down the lineup. He was able to put more balls
Can't
out of the
forget
park.
Freddie Freeman.
And then Freddie Freeman will probably be the cleanup guy. Justin Upton is probably going to fall in there in the third slot, according to Gonzalez.
So what do you put a lifetime 318 batting, a lifetime 312 batting average guy, average 24 home runs a year over his career and 85 RBI in Brian McCann? What do you do with McCann? I mean, you just put a 6-time All-Star.
Yeah, put him farther down the line. Like you said, we've talked about it. He's had the eye problems and just had injury issues. But we'll find a spot for him somewhere. He's going to be seeing pitches. And the farther you put him down the lineup, he can be a big protection for the big-name guys that we have. And I look to see the Braves lineup shuffle a good bit, especially early on at the beginning of the year, and then maybe them settle on something a little more consistent when July comes and we're trying to make that push for the playoffs, the last backstretch of the season after the All-Star break.
Well, the thing I'm looking at right now is the fact that our Atlanta Braves could have a roster that consists of 5 to 6 20-home run batters and maybe even have a team batting average somewhere in the area of 275 to 280. If the team can have that kind of batting average, if we can manufacture runs with that speed at the top of the lineup, BJ, Justin, and Jason Hayward, you're talking about the ability to be able to manufacture runs, push guys over in the scoring position, and I think that's what Freddie Gonzalez wants to do. And again, Craig, when I look at this Braves roster, I think about the fact that we had some news earlier this week, Craig, with the fact that how about the fact that Michael Bourne, All-Star for our Atlanta Braves, signs. Everybody thought it was going to take a whole bunch of money to re-sign this guy. He ends up taking $30 million less than what we paid Upton. He gets 4 years, $48 million to go to the Indians.
Yeah, and that's tough. But Upton is younger. I think Upton has more of an upside than
like
Bourne
6,
does.
7 years younger. He's only 25. Yeah,
right.
so.
And you know, Bourne has shown that he's got speed. He's shown he can play. I think he's had his best years though with the Braves. So maybe we'll see him backslide in Cleveland a little bit, make us feel a little bit better about signing Upton. Also, another guy we didn't mention, just to go back, and Drelton Simmons, another candidate to lead off for the Braves.
That's exactly
this
right.
year.
And the manufacturer runs, so that's the next big thing as well. And I definitely forgot about Simmons being in that shortstop position. Chris Johnson possibly being slotted in at third base. Right. So you're talking about a lot of runs being manufactured. Upwards of possibly 100 bases being stolen by our Atlanta Braves this year as well. So we're definitely excited about that. And again, I made a mistake by saying BJ was 25 years old. BJ's 28. His brother Justin is 25.
Right.
So that is kind of, Michael Bourne. I will say this, to ease the listeners and the fans and viewers out there, to ease your minds. Michael Bourne last year started the season off, first month of the season, at the end of the month, he was batting .324. Second month of the season, he was batting .278. Third month, he was batting .252. By the end of the season, he was batting .215. And the last month of the season for our Atlanta Braves, that should tell you exactly why the Braves went out and made that move and decided not to give him ante up the big money for Michael Bourne. All right. Atlanta Braves again, we're excited about it, and we'll be having baseball here on 99.9, our sister station, ESPN Radio 99.9, so we're excited about that as well, more during the season. All right, coming up next, we'll have Brandon Evans will join us on the couch in the Ashley Furniture Studios, where we'll do our segment we call Backpage News. Guys, O.J. Simpson is throwing parties. This guy's got 30 years to serve in jail, and he's getting a little acquainted with the ladies in prison, so to speak. We'll talk about that and a lot more right here on the Sports Wrap TV 38. We'll be back.
Turn the page.
And welcome back to the Sports Wrap right here on TV 38 WRWR, your Middle Georgia sports leader, each and every Saturday morning from 9 to 10 a.m. And joining me in the Ashley Furniture Studios, Craig Lawson, Brandon Evans. We are getting it done, guys. We're doing a new little segment. We're actually going to have to break this up probably into 2 segments, but we're going to do a little piece called our Backpage News, and maybe do a segment called Wait What, because that's going to be a good one a little at the end. I've got a few things to throw out there, but I wanted to dig a little deeper, guys, into some things we hadn't talked about yet. First and foremost, Craig, you had a question that seemed to be one of those questions that is kind of spreading like wildfire across the United States about our good friend Jadeveon Clowney up there in South Carolina.
Yeah, you look at a guy who if he were to be eligible for the NFL draft this year, he would almost certainly be the first defensive player taken, maybe the #1 overall pick. Should he risk injury and play his third year that he's required to play before going to the NFL? And looking at it from a business standpoint, I can see really good reasons for him to potentially sit out next season and just train for the draft.
Brandon?
Yeah, there's a good reason for him to do it, but good luck trying to get him to do it. You've played football. You know, can you imagine someone going to Jadeveon Clowney and saying, you know what, we just want you to sit out this year because, you know, you're going to make $10 million down the road. His agent or his future agent or the people in his family might be in his ear telling him that. But if he's a gamer like I think he is, good luck trying to get him to sit out a season.
Well, here's some examples. I mean, when you look at the situation, you could say, okay, on one hand, do you want to be in a situation like where you say, "Nah, I don't want to sit out," and you could be like like his teammate Marcus Lattimore, where Lattimore played and he decided to, he goes out there, comes back again, blows out his knee. I mean, another debilitating knee injury, and that one was unbelievable. I mean, when you dislocate your knee, you rip all your ligaments up in your knee. That is a hurt. He saw that one up close and personal on a first-hand basis. Or you can also look at the fact that, okay, well, if I sit out, and kind of like we saw with Mike Williams coming out of USC, the big wide receiver, 6'4", 215 pounds, he goes and tries to declare early like Maurice Clarett, trying to follow Clarett's example, thinking that the rule was going to change. It didn't change. He missed his entire junior season, and he sat out. His draft stock dropped from a top 5 pick to late second round because the guy goes out there and does what? Runs a 4.7, I think. He picked up 15 pounds, coming back in the combine at 230 pounds.
He was listed as a slow tight end, and he was trying to play wide receiver, so it was bad.
Exactly. So, I mean, those are the examples that a guy like Jadeveon Clowney, I say, you're a football player. You risk injury every time you get out on the football field, period, point blank. But You can also look at the fact that guys like Jamal Anderson in the NFL, when you go to the NFL, Jamal Anderson, he holds out for the big contract after the Super Bowl. He gets that big contract after leading the league in rushing.
Beginning of the
2
season,
games later, blows out his knee, and we never saw him on the football field again after that.
Yeah.
I mean, it was worth his while to go out there and hold out, kind of, because those are the kind of things we've seen happen. I don't know. I don't know about this one. What are your thoughts?
These things can get tricky. I think if you're looking at it strictly from a business point of view, though, the money that he could potentially lose, and he's going to see a lot of cut blocks. I mean, people are going to remember that play from Michigan where he took that kid's head off almost. He's going to see a lot of cut blocks next year from some big guys. Yeah, that did. That earned him a ton of money. And I think if he didn't play next year and just trained, first of all, you can get an agent, and your agent can start paying you immediately. He can front you money for future earnings, and he can actually start to line his pockets now. I do think that one of the things, and I don't want to get too far off on a tangent here, but I think one thing that would solve this is if you just paid college players in the first place. If they're paid the money that South Carolina's making a lot of money off of Jadeveon Clowney, if he was making, a few $100 grand a year right now, maybe we're not really even talking about this.
A few $100 grand?
Oh yeah. Absolutely.
I think that's just.
That's a little bit much money, but I do agree with you about paying college players.
But didn't the NCAA change the rule now where these schools can actually give more money to these athletes now, starting in 2014, I believe?
Well,
yeah, but it's chump change.
Not enough because they're having to rob kids for Skittles in Alabama.
Since you decided to lead on into that story, 4 Alabama freshmen get charged with fraud, aggravated assault, and robbery. These guys literally. 3 of them are 5-star recruits, guys. They're out robbing people, taking their credit cards, hitting them over their head, going and use it, buying up, shoes and everything else. And they get caught. Some guys get charged with robbery. They're all out on bond, but that's not a good look. These are not the kind of guys that Nick Saban is trying to bring down to Alabama, I don't think. I think this is not a good look for the Alabama program, who's won 2 back-to-back national championships.
I mean, it happens at every single program. You just don't hear about it as often in Alabama.
Or
so
like
now that it finally did. Yeah, you do hear about it in Georgia most of the time.
They cover it up at Alabama. Georgia police, I think it's all about the tight-knit culture in Tuscaloosa.
And a lot of people will tell you in Athens that the police officers are out to get football players. And, of course, we did have some football players in Athens who couldn't help but wreck their scooters every day.
Right.
So, there's problems everywhere they go. Tennessee had some similar problems with people with some armed robbery and stuff like that. It happens. They're 18-year-olds. Some of them would be considered thugs. Some of them come from low-income families.
Sometimes those are the best football players.
It happens in college football, but when it's on a stage like with Alabama and Nick Saban, it's just magnified that much more. But as we were talking about earlier, I think that it all goes down to just pay the players.
Well, again, I don't think that had those guys going out stealing and beating people over the head and robbing them and using their credit cards.
They might have done that anyway.
Yeah, those guys probably would have done that anyway. I think it had nothing to do with money, with them needing the money. I mean, listen. You can't tell me
it wasn't like they bought an Xbox, or it wasn't like they went and bought clothes and stuff like that. They bought food.
Listen, you cannot tell me at the University of Alabama those guys are not getting some form of stipend or something.
The NCAA would say no. The NCAA would say they're getting an education.
They get a stipend. They do
get stipends, and basically the athletic department, they cut you a check. And I feel like there are dining halls open at all times. I know at the university, I don't know about Tuscaloosa, but I know at the University of Georgia there's a dining hall open anytime you want to go eat. So do they need the food? I mean, I feel like these guys are definitely bad seeds. But, that's an interesting point, though. If they're making money, it's an interesting time. There's really no way to know, but
they are unrelated, but it's an interesting correlation,
Will we ever see a situation where the NFL allows football players early entrance other than what they have now, where you see does Jadeveon Clowney and this situation, does it change the way the NFL looks at these players with the 3 years out of high school rule that they have now? Do we see that change somehow? Because Maurice Clarett, Mike Williams, they all challenged it early on. I mean, they tried to challenge it after the freshman season, I believe.
And they weren't even they didn't pan out for them at all. And granted, they had some problems. They got out of shape. But I don't think they'll change it because the Jadeveon Clowneys, at least right now, we don't see a ton of those. There are some guys, like maybe Adrian Peterson was probably ready to play after his freshman year. But you don't see enough of them now. If it progresses and the humans keep evolving and getting bigger and stronger and
Robert
faster.
Kimdichie out of Grayson.
Yeah, I mean, so it's an interesting topic. I don't think at this point they will, but maybe 10 years down the road if kids keep getting bigger and faster and stronger. But if kids keep getting bigger and faster and stronger, that means the NFL players are bigger, faster, and stronger too. So how's that correlation going to match up? I think it'll take some time, but it definitely is a possibility.
Well, the possibility being that as well. Listen. How about the kid Noel out of Kentucky, blowing another example of this? Should I have gone and done something different? Noel, he blows out his knee at Kentucky, comes out. He's a freshman right now. For those that don't know, the high top, the big #1 recruit in the nation with the high top fade, blows out his knee. He could have gone, probably jumped, went straight to the NFL if the rule had been NBA, excuse me, if the rule had been the same as it was back when Kobe Bryant and Kevin Garnett and those guys came out. Here's a guy now who could easily not even be drafted or be drafted late in the first or early part of the second round. This hurts, guys. I mean, I don't know. Brandon, what do you think?
And knee injuries happen. I mean, they really do. They happen in any sport, and they're more valuable, as a running back or something in football. In basketball, you see them coming back from knee injuries more often. With big men, it's a little different, a little trickier because, guys that are just, 6'7" and taller, 6'8", 6'10", they just tend to have more health problems, and that's just the way it is. I think that, he could definitely come back, probably should come back from another year, stay out of the draft for another year, but, when the knee injuries, they just happen. They really do.
I mean, you also have issues like Greg Oden, who hasn't even been able to start his career.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Sam Bowie, the guy who was drafted before Michael Jordan, he just had the leg injuries. The guys are that tall. I mean, they're almost like racehorses. They have to hold up all that weight on those skinny legs. And, it's a tough situation. But like you said, if he was able to go to the NBA. But, producer Brad said, he had Brandon Jennings. He went overseas and played for a year instead of going to college. So that is an option for these kids.
And he was the #5 pick in the draft.
Yeah, and it's been pretty good.
Good point, Brad.
Yeah, and again, he even went out and earned a very good living overseas in Europe. I think he made a little over $1.5 million a year, tax-free money over.
Europe's not so bad.
Oh, it's not at all. All right, guys, we've got a lot more coming up next. We're gonna do exactly right. All right, coming up next, we're gonna wrap up this segment on our back page news. How about OJ partying in jail, guys? He's got 30 more years to serve. And it's not for the murder. It's for stealing his own stuff back. I don't know, but we'll talk about that. We'll also talk about the IOC eliminating one of the founding sports in the Olympics right here on the Sports Wrap TV 38. We'll be back.
Turn the page.
Hey guys, welcome back to the final segment right here on the Sports Wrap TV 38 WRWR. Again, we want to thank Flint Energies, one of our huge sponsors as well, for being a big part of this show, as well as we're here live in the Ashley Furniture Studios. Brandon Evans, Craig laying down the Lost Son joining us right now as well. We're here doing our segment we call our back page news, and this little piece, guys, it's just we go out and we find some things that are a little bit interesting that we want to talk about that are sports related. First and foremost, we're on a serious note right now. Georgia Bulldogs decide to extend the contract of head football coach Mark Richt. He gets a bump from his $2.8 million contract that is all state funded. So that means you and I, we're paying for his salary. From $2.8 million to $3.2 million. They extend his contract by 1 year to 2017. Craig, I know you're a big-time Bulldog guy. What are you thinking about this one?
I like Mark Richt. I like what he's done with the program. I think that there's definitely a lot of room to improve with, coaching staff in certain areas. But you can't argue with back-to-back trips to the SEC championship. I just like to see him win one. But I've always been a Mark Richt advocate, and I think I don't think you can really argue with it at this point.
Brandon?
Yeah, he's put together an incredible number of 10-win seasons. Like Craig said, back-to-back SEC championship game appearances, about 5 yards away from what would have been a national championship this year. A great character guy, and I don't think there's a better college coach out there on the market for them to bring in. And every time he's on the hot seat, he always comes through with a great year. Another top 10 recruiting class this year. No reason, I think, to get rid of Mark Richt anytime soon.
Are we getting paid by the Georgia Bulldogs right now? I mean, I'm hearing so much butt kissing for Mark Richt right now. Guys, are we forgetting that just a couple years ago, this guy went 6-7 with this
Yes,
team.
what?
Loses to O'Leary, George O'Leary, who owned him at Georgia Tech. He loses to Central Florida in the Motor City or the Music City Bowl or what?
Well, you're talking about one bad season in 12 years. I mean, that happens. You know, I mean, Joe Paterno had a lot of bad seasons. Bobby Bowden had a lot of bad seasons. They're the best two, you know, record-wise college coaches ever. I mean, who are you gonna get?
Who's won more games in the last 10 years than Mark Richt, other than maybe Nick Saban?
Right.
Or Urban Meyer?
Yeah, I mean, but you're not going to get them.
But you had, but my thought is this: you could have you had your chance to get Will Muschamp when he was coming out. He wanted that job.
I don't want Will Muschamp coaching Georgia.
Why
wouldn't he lost to Louisville in the Sugar Bowl, and they were terrible offensively. Florida was not a good football team last year. They're pretty good defensively, offensively, an aberration. I would not want Will Muschamp.
I think Muschamp's
but they
a good
went
recruiter.
to the Sugar Bowl and we didn't at Georgia.
That's arbitrary.
I would rather have gotten someone like Kirby Smart.
Well, even Kirby.
Kirby's not leaving Texas anytime soon. I'm sorry, Alabama anytime soon.
If Kirby was offered the Georgia head coaching job, he's a Georgia guy. Kirby's he's hinted to that already. That's the only way he would leave Alabama is to take the Georgia head coaching football job. I would have loved it. I mean, any of us would have loved to see Kirby Smart as that coach. I'm just saying, you don't know. Okay. Well, Mark Richt had to be given an opportunity. He got the opportunity at Georgia. Somebody else is going to come along and it's going to be a heck of a coach that you got to go out there and find. And I just think
it's going to take more than one bad season.
I just think they should have made him. They should have made him show us again. Show us one more time. Let's see again what
Aaron
you
Murray
can do.
completes that last out route. They beat Alabama. They go on. They stomp Notre Dame. We're not even having this conversation.
But we're having that conversation because they didn't have enough sense to tell him to spike the ball as a head coach to save yourself 7 seconds on the clock, guys. I'm sorry.
That's a good point.
That's game management.
That's a good point.
That Mark Richt has been
Bobo,
proven
though. That's
time
Mike
and
Bobo.
time.
Bobo is calling the plays now, and we
if
can
you're a head coach
guess.
and you don't see that, and you're on the sidelines and you don't sit there and do this, then that's your fault.
They had
too.
the right matchups on the defensive side, the right personnel.
And it was a great play by the defensive end from Alabama to get his hands up. Aaron Murray stares down his receiver, which he shouldn't do that. I mean, there are a lot of factors to go into play. I believe they should have spiked it as well, but, you know, if I was coaching the team, they would have never been in the SEC championship game. And I think, you know, if we're looking back on it, I mean, I'll tell you what, ask me again after week 4 of next year if I think I'm happy after we've played Clemson,
LSU,
South Carolina, and LSU, and then I'll tell you whether or not I'm happy with the contract.
Of course,
extension.
and that's why they got this contract done. And again, guys, we're not thinking again. You let out of 10 5-star recruits out of the state of Georgia, every last one of them leaves the state of Georgia and takes a scholarship somewhere else.
You also lost your lead recruiter though to Auburn.
Exactly, but my point is, how do you lose
They weren't sure if the defensive coordinator was even going to be there.
Yeah. He might have gone to the NFL. I'm not making excuses. That was very frustrating for me, but Georgia signed a very, very deep, very, very good class. They addressed a lot of needs. There were some that they did.
B+, B- grade class.
You don't know.
He wins one national championship. You'll never have to make excuses for Georgia
but
again.
He's got to win it. He's got to win one.
It's arbitrary. The BCS is a garbage system.
The Chicago Cubs right now. Listen. Wait till next year. Wait till next year. I mean, yes, if he does like the Boston Red Sox did with Tito Martinez, when they go and decide they actually go out there and win a championship, yes.
How long have you lived in Georgia? Don't you know that? That's the way it is with the Falcons. That's the way it is with the Bulldogs. That's the way it is with the Hawks. That is being a Georgia sports fan.
I'm a realist. I understand. When I understood, I was disappointed with the Braves going to all those World Series, winning all those division titles, and not winning but one World Series. But with the Georgia Bulldogs, you are a top 5 college in the country. Top 5 program in the country.
Nothing to do with Mark Richt, though.
Nothing to do with him. It was a top 5 program when he took the job.
No.
Not even close.
Absolutely not. Jim Donnan, they were awful with Jim Donnan. Get out.
Listen, that's athletic directors
show.
making poor decisions.
Get out.
I'm going to tell you something. I promise you there were a lot of coaches that wanted that job, that would have wanted that job more than they would have wanted listen, you got the Ohio States, the Michigans, the Alabamas, and
Texas,
but then you got to throw Georgia in there, dude. You got to throw Georgia.
They're a second-tier program compared. Like if you're talking about the team, Notre Dame, Alabama, USC, Texas. I went to the University of Georgia. I got 2 degrees from there, but they are not on that level as far as fans, as far as the money that they're going to get, as far as popularity. They are absolutely not there. And I can show you charts to prove it. Ain't no question. I'm just giving you fact right now.
Where are your charts at?
That was a great shot by our producer, Brad Boskin. And
They don't like to hear the truth. You can't
that
handle the
also
truth.
tells us to move along.
Can we get that on a replay?
IOC, that was awesome, guys.
That was a good shot.
Yeah, it was an
I'm gonna
awesome shot. IOC decides to eliminate the oldest sport in competition for the Olympics is wrestling. They decide to eliminate wrestling from the Olympics. Guys, it's been around since 1896. It's been around, and Craig, you made this statement. It's been around since BC when they were wrestling nude. I mean, gladiator fighting and everything else. It's the ultimate Olympic sport, and it's gone now. And they're saying it's gone because of fan interest, lack of funds and interest in it. It just doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, well, I mean, you got trampoline jumping, which is a sport in the Olympics, you know. And I mean, I'm not sure if they're hanging on to that, but I know the last Olympics blew my mind. How you get? I mean, I didn't watch a ton of wrestling, and maybe that's the problem because it's all about ratings, and apparently ratings for wrestling just didn't stack up to other sports, which is surprising to me comparatively.
Guys roll around in leotards.
Yeah, I say get rid of wrestling, get rid of boxing, and just have MMA. Might as well. I mean, if you're still going to have curling in the Winter Olympics, where there's guys with like little brushes on the ice, that is no. Yeah, you got to have something
synchronized swimming, and ping pong. I mean, come on, guys. I mean, listen. All I can tell you is this. This is a travesty. They will have an opportunity in 2020 to come back and just like baseball. Baseball was eliminated as well. And baseball is one of the most worldly sports. I mean, you've got countries all over that are playing baseball right now. So it is what it is. We'll move on, and I'll digress from that one. Braves also decide to reject. They were going to go to and throw on their uniforms and their helmets and their hats. They were going to do a throwback to the old Milwaukee Braves with the screaming Indian on the helmet. Well, you know, everybody wants to be politically correct now. They decided not to put the screaming Indian on their hat again. Listen, I loved it. I miss Chief Nakahoma. I'm sorry. I thought it would have been a great move. It would have been a great branding and marketing move as well. Would have sold a lot of product. But again, everybody trying to be politically correct right now. Folks want the Redskins to change their name. They want the Seminoles down in Florida State to change their name. And now they're talking about the Braves, guys.
I understand why they're not doing it, and this is kind of before my time with the whole the screaming Indian. But you know, I understand. I mean, I guess if you're a Native American, you find that offensive. I guess I don't really know, but I mean, I guess it's just the PC world that we live in now.
Yep. I think the biggest thing about the Braves this year is not what logo they have on their hat. I think it's going to be, does Kimbrel's arm hold up through playing in the WBC? Does McCann come back from rehab well? Will Beachy be involved at all in the season other than maybe a reserve role? And is Julio Teheran the fifth starter? We already know we have probably one of the best bullpens and one of the best outfields in baseball. It's just whether or not this team can come together in whatever kind of uniform they wear.
Word on that.
Yeah, I like that. Great statement as well. Last thing before we finish up, guys. O.J. Simpson serving 30 years in prison right now. I know Craig hates hates we having this conversation right now. He has a huge Super Bowl party in jail where he has a big 60-inch flat screen, chicken wings, dip, guards are attending. And then, from what we're understanding right now, O.J.'s getting the full Monty treatment, so to speak, in prison right now, where he's enjoying the services of the queens in prison right now, getting massages, getting the foot rubs, the pedicures, the manicures. They don't call him OJ anymore. They call him DJ. That's for Daddy Juice. So, Brandon, what do you think?
You know, this is a little reminiscent of the movie, if you're all gangster mafia movie fans. There's a movie called Goodfellas. And if you remember Ray Liotta and all the guys, when they go to prison, they're like celebrities. You know, they get everything they want. That's what I imagine it is with OJ. It's a party. He's got a 60-inch flat screen. You know, he's got the drag queens over there doing his toenails and stuff. You know, it's a party, you know? So, I mean, OJ, not to say he was guilty or innocent of the original crime that he was more famous for, but he was famous before that, which is why the trial was big. Now he's famous in jail, which is why he's having these parties. There's amazing things in life that you or I, none of us will ever know about, that fame will get you, and it just goes to show that it does not stop when you're in prison.
Exactly.
You can take that. It kind of reminds me of the movie The Longest Yard. Y'all seen that? The newer one with Adam Sandler. And you got Tracy Morgan and they're dancing and all that stuff. And that's all I can really think of. It's just really weird. You know, it's just super weird. I don't know what to say about it. But I guess you got to make the most of your situation, right?
All right, well, there it is, guys, right here on the Sports Wrap, TV 38 WRWR. For Brandon, for Craig Lawson, Brad Boswick, and for everyone, we'll see you guys next week. And I'll tell you right now, Brad, we're going to all probably, Craig, you know what? Get out of here. We'll see you guys next week. This guy wants to argue so much about the Georgia Bulldogs, guys. I'm telling you right now. Brad, thank you for defending and hitting him upside the head. We'll see you guys next week, 9 to 10 a.m. right here on the Sports Wrap. We'll see you guys next week. We're out of here.